Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Frame, a podcast where we talk about movies. I'm Eric.
And I'm Ryley.
And today we are talking about Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And I am so happy I went into this movie blind, I gotta say.
Yeah, it's something that I didn't know anything about the plot. I just knew of the expectations and the reception it had, which was like grand to say the least.
Yes, absolutely. And so for everybody who has not seen it, you should go and watch it before you listen to this podcast because we're going to spoil things. But here's a quick summary of the plot. So Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is directed by Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert. Scheinert? I think it's Scheinert. Daniel Scheinert. And the two of them, they just go by the name Daniels. So it's about Evelyn Wang, and it's really just a small snapshot of her life as she deals with her crumbling marriage, impressing her father, and reconnecting with her daughter. And all this is set on the backdrop of this multiverse ending crisis that only she can save or only she can solve. Oh, and her laundromat is being audited by the IRS.
You got to add some real world problems into it.
Yeah, right. And it's a genre in reality, it's this genre bending action comedy film that has a little bit of everything, and at its core it's a family drama. I think that's its greatest strength.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, and great explanation, by the way. But it's interesting that you describe it as a small snapshot, because after I left the movie, that was one of my first comments to my partner was, it's like, wow, like this is such an interesting plot because on one hand, it's very small in scope. Like when you break it down to its essential parts, it's really just a mom trying to connect with her daughter and understand where her daughter's coming from, and also understand how she got to where she is in life. So it's like it's a very small story in that perspective, but also at the same time, through the different mechanics of the multiverse and through her own reflection, like you're actually getting her whole life story, but it does it in such a quick snapshot way that you don't always notice it. So like, yes, it's like this small snapshot story, but also it's like it's very grand. Like it's bigger than what it seems at first glance.
You know, you get to experience her life as she is reliving it. And I think that's a really special experience. Not something that you see a lot in these like sci-fi-esque movies.
But now that you kind of mentioned the idea of reliving your life, that does tie in nicely with Eternal Sunshine, which will be talked about a little bit later.
Totally. That's why I picked it.
Okay, now but how'd you pick it in advance? Like, did you pick Eternal Sunshine after watching this?
No, I picked it before. I picked it before. It was just a good feeling I got from the trailer. I just thought, you know, from the trailer, and this is a testament to A24's trailers. I don't know if the directors have a hand in it at all, but I got the feeling that it was this heady sci-fi plot that was kind of wrapped around this really personal drama. So I thought a bit of a coincidence, but I'm just going to say that I got that from.
No, your intuition was bang on.
Yeah, right. So, you know, and the same thing is too and this is from my perspective, you know, as a like Japanese Canadian, I really enjoyed the sort of immigrant story that they were able to tell, because I think a lot of time and time again with immigrant stories, you know, you see, you know, this idea of intergenerational trauma, and then also regret and decisions that you make that might have long-ranging consequences. And I think they did a really good job of portraying that. And it was funny to hear them talk about how that wasn't even really their intention, but it kind of worked out that way. In an interview, Daniel Kwan said Um, so much of the multiverse is about, quote, so much of the multiverse is about asking what if and wondering about regrets. And so much of the immigrant story is about taking risks and asking those same what if questions. And I I was just really moved by it. And that was a very, very personal connection for me, but I enjoyed that.
Like obviously I don't have any connection to the cultural aspect of it, but one of my best friends from school is Chinese, and we have a lot of talks about the cultural differences and like what coming from China and living in Canada is like for her, or and just also growing up in a Chinese family. And it is I've picked up a lot of things from this movie, or is things that she's talked about before. Like for instance, something that comes up a lot because I also have another Chinese friend is like the overbearing beauty standards and body expectations. So there's one scene in the movie where the mom tells the daughter Joy, just like, I just wanted to tell you you're starting to look fat. I'm like, oh my God, thanks, mom.
And even Joy, like to her partner, it like basically is trying to explain that that's her mom like caring, and her partner is like, that doesn't make any sense.
No, I laughed at the theater a little bit at that. But no, it seems like they really paid attention to the culture, and they tried to present a meaningful story that was quite relatable.
Yeah, I think they did it justice, and it's still relatable. I think, regardless of if you have those cultural connections, it like transcends a culture. You know, it tells a way bigger story and has a way bigger message than just that. But I appreciate the attention to detail.
Well, even if we set aside the cultural issue, like a big part of the story is, what if I did something different for my life? And that's something I relate to every day because, like where I'm at now, so in the legal profession, that's not where I necessarily wanted to be 15 years ago. 15 years ago, I thought, hey, being a director would be the coolest thing on earth. But then in my mind, I was like, well, how the hell am I going to get there? That seems like an unattainable, impossible goal. And that's just something I never pursued. So maybe in some multiverse, I'm a big shot director who's living his best life. And everyone can relate to that sort of what if regret.
Everybody asks themselves those questions. It's so relatable.
In another life, I probably would have also been a big time rapper, but that's a different multiverse.
Rapper/director. Direct your own music videos.
Multi-talented.
Then you, yeah, exactly. You would be, you would be, what are they, like a polymath?
Oh, hey, look, ASAP Rocky does fashion. He recently directed a thing with Rihanna, big time rapper. It's, there's precedence.
I didn't realize he was so big into fashion. I guess a lot of rappers like do that, but
definitely big into it. But going outside the plot, the other thing that struck me with this movie is how the hell did they do all of the fight scene choreography? Because I don't think that they shot the fight scenes with a green screen in the back and swap the background. Like, I feel like they replicated the fights and synced them across different sets. And I don't know, you could tell me if I'm wrong on that.
I have not. So I went through and was doing a little bit of research, and I didn't see anything that, I guess to put into perspective, 5 people worked on the VFX. They all worked from home, and they were all not VFX artists. Like, they were not trained. So I am wondering if a lot of it was practically done.
The hot dog fingers apparently were.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. Oh my God, the hot dog fingers. That I'm so glad they did not show that in any of the trailers. I guess, but basically that is Everything Everywhere All at Once in a, high level view. We're going to go on to spoilers now, so everybody avert your ears or just go watch the movie. It's so good. By the time you watch this, it might even be on streaming platforms. So
hopefully.
just go watch it. It's so good. And I guess we'll kind of start there with the hot dog fingers. Did you think that, I guess I want to get your opinion on the absurd elements, because those were the things that at first like really didn't work for me, but I bought into them because the emotional story was so good. So what did you think about like the absurd elements, like the bagel and the hot dog fingers?
Um, I don't necessarily. I don't think I ever really bought into the bagel as the. It's not a MacGuffin, but the driving antagonist almost of the movie. Uh, I don't know if I bought into that, but I do know when I first started watching the movie, I had a hard time accepting the quirks of how you access your different multiverse self. So, like for instance, when sorry, I'm looking at his name. When Waymond first tries to access another one of his multiverse selves in the first big fight scene of the movie, he has to paper cut in between each of his fingers. And I was like, that's kind of weird. But as the movie progressed, I stopped caring and I liked the quirkiness of it. Like for instance, the like towards the end of the movie, the butt plug scene. That was
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, it was really funny.
Um
Yeah, it served the comedy so well.
well, and also like later on in the movie they do a good job of explaining why it's necessary, because it's like that's your tie. That's one of the things that makes your main path branch into one of these multiverse things. Like there's all these like small, seemingly insignificant things that happen that create these fundamental branching paths in terms of your life. So like I get that you have to do those weird things to connect with your other versions. So like eventually I bought into it, but it's just one of those things where you have to like kind of suspend your disbelief for a little bit and just buy into the fun of it. I wanted to call the bagel a MacGuffin, but it's not a MacGuffin. I don't know the term for it.
Because I guess a MacGuffin is like something that's not that doesn't have any use. It's just a bad for bad's sake.
Well, okay,
I don't really know what it means.
when I think of MacGuffin, it's like it's those plot devices where like a character needs to go and get something to progress the plot. So it's like the Tesseract in Guardians of the Galaxy, for instance.
What about the briefcase in like Pulp Fiction? Is that a MacGuffin?
Maybe I like.
Is the Ring of Power a MacGuffin?
Maybe I need to like look up what a MacGuffin actually is.
I'm genuinely curious because like I feel like a MacGuffin is sometimes seen as like a negative thing, but you know those things like the briefcase in Pulp Fiction, like there's a point where you don't know what's in it. What does a MacGuffin actually mean?
An object, event, or character in a film or story that serves to set and keep the plot in motion despite usually lacking intrinsic importance. You know, I will say the bagel had intrinsic importance. That was the relationship.
Yeah.
Maybe not a MacGuffin.
And yeah, potentially not, because it had that emotional connection, because that was where she was putting all the negative stuff, all the bad thoughts or whatever. So I mean, you know what a MacGuffin would be like? You saw the Rise of Skywalker, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So you know that stupid Sith Wayfinder thing?
The Sith
That's
dagger.
a MacGuffin. Yeah. That's totally the thing that like perfectly lined up with the Death Star wreckage, like that scene in the Goonies.
God,
Like that thing.
not a good movie.
No. Horrible movie.
But like in respect to this movie though, like one thing that everyone's talked about, and I agree with it completely. Ke-Huy Quan crushed it in his return. Like he was such a fun character.
Yeah, his performance was insanely good. I had no idea he had that range, and he's the emotional core of the movie.
That was like the first time he's acted in 20 years.
That's crazy. I would have not. It's like he didn't even skip a beat. The fact that he could go from like the Alpha verse, like Waymond, to like the Waymond from Evelyn's self, that's a kung fu master, like movie star, to like just like regular Waymond, who's like essentially like reconfessing his like love to Evelyn in that final scene. It's really impressive. Yeah, I did not expect that from him.
Everyone in this movie, I think, did great in terms of their performances. Like I think he probably stole the show from most people. Michelle did great. Stephanie did great. I didn't know Jamie Lee Curtis was in the movie, but she's always pretty good.
I for the longest time I was like, who is this? Who is playing this IRS auditor?
Yeah.
Who is it? And then it clicked when she started like yelling, because I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's got to be Jamie Lee Curtis. Oh my god, I gotta say, when she's like walking up to them before they get on the elevator, and then she's like really angry, and then Evelyn just punches her in the face. Oh man, that just I saw it in the theater with like 3 other people, so I was kind of embarrassed because I was like I was belly laughing. I was like laughing so hard, and nobody else was laughing for some reason. I don't know why. I think it's they're all just just lame.
They lack a sense of humor.
Clearly, yeah. That part, that's when I was like, okay, this is like 100% going to be an action comedy. And the action was very good.
Did the other 3 people at least laugh at the dog weapon scene?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Okay, so at least they have like some degree of humor in them.
And you know what? They were laughing at the butt plug scene, so I'll give them that.
I think like one of the reasons why I found the dog scene so funny was you feel so bad. Like it was shock value, but in such a good way. Like you just didn't picture it coming.
Yeah. You know, and I will say part of what made it funny for me is like it kind of looked fake.
Oh, it did.
Like it kind of like, you know, it looked fake in the way that like, you know, like a scary movie looked, you know, or what were those other ones, like Not Another Teen Movie or whatever. Yeah. Just so absurd, but also, yeah. Yeah, really compelling.
No, I totally get. Like I picture the Meet the Spartans. There's like this penguin scene in it. But it's like those really fake looking animals, and like that's the way I finished The Mandalorian season 2 recently. And I'll explain why this is relevant in a second. And like Baby Yoda, aka Grogu, for those who are still using Baby Yoda, which is not his name. Like he clearly looks fake. Like he's a puppet with puppet movements, and I told my partner, I was like, you know what, I would take this fake looking puppet over any CG character any day. I love animatronics. I love puppet work. I just like the look of that, and like the fact that the dog looked really fake to me just added to it.
Well, even like the raccoon.
Oh, the raccoon was perfect.
Fake, but yeah, but it fits so well. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like I think Yoda from the original trilogy looks way better than the CG Yoda from the I guess the like 1 to 3, whatever that trilogy is called. Yeah, so I agree. And the raccoon, you know, when they had that conversation about like Ratatouille, but like Evelyn was like
Raccacoonie or something,
calling Raccacoonie. I was like, oh, that's really cute. Like that's a good characterization moment for her.
And then they went the distance
back. Yeah, and that's what I appreciate about this movie. It just did not pull any punches, even with like and maybe some people don't like this, but I love when they just when movies go all out like this, like when Joy as like the Jobu Tupaki like is like just beating the crap out of those cops with the dildos. Like they're so funny, and it just didn't care, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it had it was a good mix of both like fairly intellectual humor, but also it got a healthy balance of that lowbrow juvenile humor as well. Like it's fun to have a mix of both.
Yeah, it keeps it light, you know. You don't want to rely too much on like the philosophical humor or like some of the situational stuff. So I think it was all really well done, and I don't know if any other production house would have helped like distribute this movie or like make it happen.
If I was a director, I would not like I would exclusively operate through A24, assuming like A24 is not the place where they're doing like $300 million budget films. I don't think they want to be in that position either right now. So like if you're looking for like your classic Jurassic Park popcorn flick, well, you're not gonna make that through A24. But if you wanted, if you had like a passion project or you just wanted to have directorial freedom, I wouldn't go to any other studio. Like these, they're crushing it. Like my partner made the good point when we were in the theater during the pre-show. I think every single trailer that appeared in our pre-show was an A24 trailer, and she was like, "Are they the only studio now?" And I'm like, "No, but like they're popping off."
Yeah, well, they are, and part of that too is it's a studio studio like deal. Like usually they have to. I think the percentage of trailers shown before like certain movies will have an association with the studio.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I believe at least that's how Disney operates.
Well, Disney can do whatever they want. They're just bullies.
Yeah, they hold the theaters hostage, unfortunately, but I think that has something to do with it. But also, yes, like your partner is right. Like A24 is popping off, and they just like one hit after the other.
This is also completely unrelated, and I apologize for that. But the comment that I made that Disney's a bully made me think of this Quentin Tarantino movie. So when I think it was The Hateful Eight. When The Hateful Eight was coming out, he, like Quentin Tarantino, he lived in Hollywood. He's big on Hollywood. He's in tune with his history. Hence, well, look at his like latest movie. But I don't know what the theater is called, but there's some important theater in Hollywood, and he booked it to do a showing of The Hateful Eight, and I think that was going to be like the first showing. And then Disney comes in, they're like, "Hey, we actually want this theater for The Rise of Skywalker." I'm pretty sure it was The Rise of Skywalker. And the theater's like, "Sorry, we're booked." And then Disney essentially said, "Oh, fair, but if you don't let us show this movie, we're actually gonna never bring another movie to you ever again." And they just like threw their entire weight at them. And like Quentin Tarantino,
it's like the Pacific's Cinerama Theater, I believe. It's
it
got
could
like
be
the dome.
Yeah, yes, I remember it being domed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it is.
It just made me think of how Disney sucks sometimes.
God, of all of the things, like The Rise of Skywalker.
I'm pretty sure it was some Star Wars movie.
Well, you could replace that with any Disney product, and I would have probably the same reaction. Speaking of other multiverse movies, are you excited to watch the new Doctor Strange movie?
No, to be honest, I'm so burnt out on Marvel movies. Like, I would watch it because Sam Raimi is directing it. I would be interested to see how he plays with that. But I'm not rushing out to the theaters to watch it all. Like as soon as it hits Disney Plus, I'll probably watch it. And to be honest, like I care so little about the actual plot that I've already Googled all the plot points, so I know like the big reveals and the things everyone's excited about. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. Next,
and move on. The only superhero movies I've seen recently are DC movies. That would be Suicide Squad and the Batman. I haven't seen the new Spider-Man movie.
Oh, you still haven't? Okay, that I am excited about. And in terms of like Marvel, I'll probably watch whenever they do an X-Men movie and whenever they do Fantastic Four. And Blade. I'm genuinely excited for Blade just because I really like Mahershala Ali. But outside of that, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I would watch this to watch a Sam Raimi movie because I recently watched Darkman. Have you ever watched Darkman?
The Liam Neeson one?
Yeah.
I don't think I finished it. I've definitely like started it a few times because I distinctly remember certain scenes, but I don't think I ever actually watched it to completion.
I recently watched it, and I want to go back and watch Evil Dead and I guess not Army of Darkness, but Evil Dead 2.
Evil Dead 2 is good. I have that in my collection. And Army of Darkness.
Yeah, I want to go back. I just have this like new appreciation for Sam Raimi's movies. Like I very much like that they are all over the top and they know that they are a movie. You know, they're not trying to be something else. So for that reason, I would go and watch this new one, but I'm definitely not. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna go watch it.
Like in terms of his best movies, probably Army of Dark, I would have to rewatch that. It's a little campy for me. I really like Evil Dead 2. Drag Me to Hell is surprisingly good. I like Spider-Man 2, probably is his top 3 for me. But no, he's a good director. And like the multiverse thing, while it's definitely it's becoming a pretty saturated topic, there still is movies that are doing it well. Like Everything Everywhere All at Once, great movie. Into the Spider-Verse, that was also really fun. Like you can create some pretty meaningful and heartfelt stories while utilizing this topic. Still, it doesn't always have to just be like a plot point for Marvel movies and Marvel TV shows to make more content. So it has utility.
It does, and it has a lot of emotional resonance with people because everybody, with how kind of awful things are in real life, I think a lot of people gravitate towards the multiverse theory because they really hope that there is something else better out there.
I mean, like I said it before, yeah. I'm a famous director somewhere. I know it.
Totally, yeah. And I have created a award-winning video game in some multiverse timeline.
Oh, okay. No, random thought again. I am on a roll in terms of these. Neil Blomkamp is apparently the creative director on some new Cyberpunk Battle Royale video game. In terms of like directors going to video games.
Really?
Yeah, I just read that yesterday.
That's okay. Okay. Well, whatever it is, I will definitely like keep my eye on it because I'm pretty hot on Battle Royale games now, and I really like Neil Blomkamp.
District 9 was one of the best sci-fi movies.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like that's still in my top 10 easily.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah. I don't know. Do you have anything else that you wanted to talk about in terms of Everything Everywhere All at Once? I know like I kind of have my concluding thoughts on it, which might differ from the average folk, but like as a whole, I like the plot. I genuinely like the snapshot look at Evelyn's life, but also you're getting the panoramic picture at the same time. I like the heartfelt story with her daughter. I loved the choreography and the action, and the fact that like after like 20 or 30 minutes, like once the movie kind of like establishes its characters, it was basically fight scenes from start to end. Like it was a packed movie. So like kudos to the directors for doing that. So like as a whole, I was very impressed.
Yeah, all of my thoughts are basically the same as yours. I was very taken aback by how emotional the last half of the movie was. And I really haven't had, there hasn't been a movie that's really emotionally resonated with me in a long time. And I thought that the vehicle of the film, the action, the direction, the cinematography, the special effects, they were all so well done that I think as a whole, even though it maybe struggled in some spots to explain the premise, and maybe some of the multiverse stuff was a little heavy for the plot to hold up, I think it just does such a good job of like cutting through that and providing like a really, really good family story at the end of the day. And the message at the end was just really, really good. The whole, teaching people to, be good to each other. I think that was an unexpected message. I didn't think the film would go that direction, and I was very happy it did. And I loved it. It's I am very, very strongly going to put it at a 4.5 stars out of 5.
I was gonna say okay, so here's where kind of my perspective comes in. I thought it was a really good movie, but in terms of, I don't know if the movie met my expectations based on the hype that everyone else gave up. I thought, like, I have the same thoughts as you in terms of the brilliance of the direction, the choreography, the editing, etc. I think maybe what holds it back to me is the same thing as you. A couple of the plot points, I think, could have changed a little bit or been explained a little bit better. I never bought into the bagel idea, and I don't know how they could have fixed that, but for whatever reason, that's a sticking point for me. I would give it a 4 or 4.5. I might lean
Nice.
more on the 4, but like no matter what I give it, it's an excellent movie. I'll be buying it 4K when it comes out. I'll gladly watch it again, and I'll recommend it to my friends.
Awesome. Well, that is Everything Everywhere All at Once. Go watch it. It's so good. We need to support movies like this.
Yeah, no, original content's where it's at.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Let's move on to Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. My pick, my first pick for the podcast. So we talked about it a little bit at the beginning of, how and why I picked it. And to sum that all up, I just really thought that there were some threads that tied the two movies together, like the sci-fi plot that maybe was a little bit out there for the time. And when you strip those elements away, what you're left with is a really good relationship drama or story about a relationship that's kind of falling apart. And yeah, that's kind of why I picked it.
It was a good
Yeah.
good point. Are you wanting to give a summary of the plot for the viewers? For
Sure.
the listeners,
Yeah.
rather?
Yeah. So the plot for Eternal Sunshine is basically there is a character named Joel who is in a relationship with a woman named Clementine. And essentially, in this world, there is a company that can erase memories of people. It's very high. That's a pretty highbrow, like sci-fi thing. Like when I first watched it, I did not expect it to have such a out there sci-fi premise. I saw that it was tagged as sci-fi. Did not think that's what it would be. But basically, through the movie, Clementine is kind of impulsive, and she goes to get her memories of Joel erased. And Joel finds this out accidentally, and well, not even really accidentally. He just finds it out, and he basically has a mental breakdown and is like, okay, well, I'm going to get my memories erased of Clementine. And the process goes along, and they start to erase his memories, and he starts to realize that he doesn't want that. And the back half of the movie is basically him reliving all these memories with Clementine and trying to escape the erasers who are basically giving him brain damage and destroying the memories of Clementine. And what I love about the movie is how they visually portray that. It is so I have a bit of a history with this movie as well. So I took a high-level psych class that was all about the psychology of film and how film works psychologically and how films can portray psychological sort of systems. And the way that the memories start to degrade, this is something my teacher pointed out, is it's very much akin to losing your memory in real life. So as you go, and this just is all to say that the film does a really good job of visually portraying the degradation of his memories. And that's something that it almost borders on a horror, or borders on like horror elements. The fact that his like short-term, his like facial memory is like degrading and his short-term memory is degrading. You can see it in like the bookstore scene when all of the books start losing their covers. And, there's that scene where he's like walking by, I think like Price posters or something. And like he walks by them once and then he walks back and they're blank. It's just like little touches like that really show that they cared about the premise of the memories being erased. And I think that all really links well into the plot. So that's why I think that these two movies are really similar, is that they treat the sci-fi concept really, they do it justice while also linking the story to that. And it's not just to serve some aspect of the plot. Like the plot and the sci-fi concept, they could not be taken apart. They are one and the same. So yeah, that's basically it. That's the kind of my initial thoughts on it. And going back and watching it was a real treat. I do love the movie.
So to be honest, I don't think I've ever seen this movie before. It's a movie I think so. I don't recall watching it at the very least. It's a movie that my partner's owned for a long time, and it's one of her favorite movies, I believe. But it's something I've never seen. Um, it's a movie that's changed. I watched it maybe 5 days ago, and as I kind of like just sat on it and kind of reflected on how I felt during my watch of it and after it ended, my thoughts on it has changed a decent amount. When I first finished the movie, I thought, I mean, like it was okay, but I wasn't blown away. It's not something I'd probably watch again. But then as I sat on it, I was like, you know what? This movie hit a lot of notes that I really appreciated. I loved how nostalgic it was. I loved how honestly it treated a crumbling relationship. Like looking back at it, especially, and it's something I didn't appreciate when I was first watching it, because I will admit I was maybe playing Super Auto Pets on my phone a little bit because I got bored at certain points. Um, but the mix of practical effects and how the directors played with perspective to create certain scenes I really liked. Like, for instance, when he went back into his childhood, and then there's the scene where he's like he's in the under the table, or like when he's taking a bath in the sink, but like clearly that's a practical set, and yet they made the mother character look so large because they just had her right beside the camera, and they probably had Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet way in the background. Like, those perspective tricks and those uses of practical effects I thought were really clever, and as a whole I thought the concept was really clever. Like, this is probably a movie that I would now gladly watch again. But at the moment, upon that first instance of watching, I definitely didn't appreciate it as much as I do now. But even, like, you mentioned you liking the performances. I didn't even like Jim Carrey's performance when I first watched it. I like, to be honest, my initial thoughts on like his whole voiceover, where he's really whispery, yeah. It's quiet, it's depressed. I hated that. I was like,
Valentine's Day.
It was really boring. But then
2004.
But then I don't know. For some reason, like especially at the end of the movie, where he kind of shrugs off, he's like, yeah, we might not work out, but let's give it a shot anyways. I don't know, to me it almost justified everything else. Like, he's a depressed character. He's like clearly introverted, he's socially awkward, and he reflects that very well, and I'll admit his voiceover reflects that very well. But then, like, over the course of the movie, kind of like Evelyn in Everywhere All at Once, when he's re-experiencing his life, like at the start of the movie, he's looking backwards and he says, okay, this sucked, my life sucks. But then when he's re-experiencing those memories, like, okay, there's actually like some really beautiful moments that I've experienced, and I don't. To me, that sad start in comparison to that cautiously optimistic end kind of justified his performance to me, if that makes sense. But like, I appreciate it a lot more now. But when I first watched it, I really hated it.
Yeah, he is a very pathetic character.
So pathetic
on a first glance. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And I think that's why I liked his performance. I think that it plays the pathetic character very well, and it makes it all the more great when you start to see him take action, because he goes from a very passive character to a very active character. Even though it's all within his mind, he is like making decisions to, evade the erasers. Whereas, like, even the scene at the beginning of the movie, which, spoilers, is not necessarily the beginning of the movie, or the beginning of the plot. He's super passive, but it's, I guess it was just a good mix of characterization and insight into the character's like mind. So yeah, what did you think of Kate Winslet's performance?
I liked it. I thought it was quirky. I will say, like, she played a very youthful character, and she wasn't exactly young as like when the movie was made. Like, the best way I could explain it is she seemed like she was someone in her 30s playing someone in their 20s. but I also didn't hate it at all. I thought she was charismatic. Her character was fun. She played into the role that she was impulsive quite well. She was someone who clearly played on her emotions. So like I liked her, and like Tom Wilkinson, he's good at everything. Like at least everything I've seen, he's been good. Mark Ruffalo is effortlessly charismatic in everything.
Yep,
Kirsten
absolutely.
Dunst was good. Elijah Wood, it always throws me off because he's only ever Frodo. So to see him in any other movie, I'm
Yeah.
like, why are you here? This is not where you belong.
Yeah, it was weird. Out of all of the characters, I liked his character the least.
Yeah, no, me too.
Yeah. And it's kind of shocking when you first see him, because I remember watching it and when he first like knocks on the window to talk to Joel, I was like, oh my God, it's Elijah Wood. What?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had the same reaction. What are you? You should be in the Shire, my man. This
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense.
You gotta feel bad for people like Elijah Wood and Daniel Radcliffe, because
Oh,
you don't
totally.
escape it. Like Daniel Radcliffe just came out with that trailer for Weird Al Yankovic, and I'm like,
Yeah.
why are you doing this? You're Harry Potter.
Yeah, you cannot be anything else. Effectively like made their careers like astronomically successful, but also ruined them.
But it's interesting. Like a couple minutes ago, you mentioned how the start of the movie necessarily isn't the start of the movie. That threw me off big time because, like I said, the movie is not necessarily. It doesn't hit the ground running. It takes a little bit to get its momentum and establish its premise. So that was, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of when I was playing Super Autoputs a little bit. So I'm watching the movie, and then I'm like, okay, this is the start of the movie. He's meeting Clementine for the first time, and then suddenly, like, the scene switches to something else, and like,
Mhm.
I'm like, did I miss something? Like, did I look down at my phone and miss like a pivotal scene, because now we're suddenly not where we're at the start of the movie, and that threw me off big time. I was like, I honestly thought I missed a very important scene. I was like, how? I only looked down for like a second.
Yeah, yeah. That's how it throws you off, right? It's all about like he's almost like a bit of an unreliable narrator in some aspects because he doesn't know. So yeah, I yeah, I definitely will sing this movie's praises for a long time because it I watched it at a very pivotal point in my life, but also I think it just holds up under multiple rewatches, which I'm sure Everything Everywhere All at Once will as well.
Yeah, like once again, the direction of this movie, very well done. And I've watched some of the scenes where, like, the behind the scenes stuff where they're adding in the special effects and how they did it. It's very impressive. It's a nice mix of practical and VFX. Which I always appreciate. Like, anytime there's practical effects, I'm sold immediately.
Oh, it just is so much more immersive. You can an army of VFX people. Not to say that their work doesn't have value. But when you're watching like a Marvel movie and the back half of it is essentially an animated movie, that just doesn't really jive with me anymore. I'm kind of sick of that.
But one thing that's kind of interesting about this is this was a fairly successful movie, I thought. Like, obviously it's critically acclaimed, but I'm sure it did financially pretty well. The director didn't really go on to much. He made the Green Hornet, which might have been a career killer. I'm not sure, but like, his filmography is not that huge. He does a lot of music videos and shorts, but in terms of like feature films, there hasn't been much since Eternal Sunshine.
No, that's. Oh yeah, he did do the Green Hornet. That is hilarious. So yeah, no, I'm not sure what it was. It might just not have been what he wanted to do, but basically, like, in terms of the breakdown, it made 74 million worldwide, and the budget, I will just look that up here. The budget, yeah, looks like it's about 20 million. So yeah, you're right. It did really well. Yeah, 20 million. That's so you're right. I'm not sure why this guy didn't go on to do more. I mean, it was written by Charlie Kaufman, who obviously is has done very well for himself. I don't know if you've seen like Synecdoche, New York, or I think he did. I'm Thinking of Ending Things as well. More recently, was that Charlie Kaufman? Anyways, his movies all have that sort of like surreal backdrop on a
Oh,
grounded story.
he wrote Being John Malkovich.
Oh yeah, yeah, he did. Which I have never seen. I've never seen.
It's a weird movie.
Is it like is about like a guy who like has a backdoor into like John Malkovich's mind or something like that, or his dreams?
Yeah, it's one of those conceptual films that's a little bit weird. It's not bad.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing. I mean, these are two conceptual films that are extremely weird in some aspects. You know, maybe Eternal Sunshine is a little more grounded, less humorous. There's like humor in the moments, I think, like especially when Joel is like a kid and him and Clementine are like, you know, going through his memories, and you know some of the interactions with like Mark Ruffalo's character with Kirsten Dunst and Elijah Wood when they're like, you know, erasing his memories. It's all very interesting. Oh my god! And like I totally forgot about this when the doctor comes and him and Kirsten Dunst like kiss, and then his wife shows up, and Mark Ruffalo's like honking the horn. Like there's just like little moments like that like, while not necessarily being like laugh out loud funny, are you're like you're seeing like the ridiculousness of the situation. You know, they're literally there to erase a guy's mind, and then basically this doctor is like having like a like a relationship dispute with his wife on top of that. So it's like the mundane and the fantastical are mixed really well, so much so that you don't really notice it, which is a nice touch.
So this morning I decided to watch a trailer for The Eternal Sunshine, because how they do trailers now and how they did trailers back then, it's always interesting to me. It seems like the style for trailers has changed a lot, but how they marketed this movie, at least on the one trailer I watched, I don't know. I feel like it could have led to some audience confusion. Like, yes, part of the trailer was like fairly melodramatic, but then suddenly like Mr. Blue Sky starts playing and it's very upbeat, and like Jim Carrey's doing like his weird facial expressions and stuff, and I'm just like, were you trying to like play on like the Jim Carrey The Mask fame, or like the movie's not quirky, like it has its humor. I shouldn't say it is quirky, like the childhood scene, it's weird, it's fantastic, but it's not Jim Carrey levels of insane like The Mask is, or Bruce Almighty. Like it's not that kind of quirky.
Yeah, it's quirky in like a believable way, whereas like Jim Carrey's performances maybe in like Bruce Almighty are just
it's over the top,
ridiculous. Yeah, and like not a.
Well, this was his first like real dramatic turn.
I really don't know. I should have looked this up kind of earlier, but I mean he did like, I mean, The Truman Show, like that was fairly melodramatic.
Truman Show's good.
Yeah, it is. Yes, absolutely. And like, yeah, because this was 2004, so he had done like The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura. The Truman Show was in a 98. Bruce Almighty was
Grinch?
2003. Oh, The Grinch as well, 2000. Liar Liar was 1997. And so maybe not an anomaly, but definitely like was out there for him as a
until he does the number 23.
Oh,
have you ever seen that?
Wasn't he?
Yeah,
I've never seen it.
It's a weird movie.
So, you know, it just goes to show like his range.
Oh no,
now he's in Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, but apparently he's retired now.
Oh, well, fair enough. He's made his money.
He said he'll come do another movie if like Christopher Nolan directs it or something, but we'll see if he stays retired.
He's going to be in Tenet Part 2.
Hey, you know what? To be honest, he's a good dramatic actor. He could definitely be in anything and take a serious turn, and it would probably be really good.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, that's Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. You should definitely check it out and like give it a chance because it is 100% worth the trip in my mind. I would probably rate this a 4 out of 5.
I'm going to take a surprising turn. I like this more than Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I would probably give it a 4.5. I like
Okay.
movies that.
This is a solid 4.5 for you.
Yes. Everything
Okay.
Everywhere All at Once is like, I walked out of the theater and I was like, you know what? This is a good movie. I walked out of everything. I shouldn't say I walked out. I got out of my
Got up off
beanbag
your
chair
couch.
for Everything Everywhere All, or for Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I was like, it was okay. But it stayed with me way more than Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I liked how it did nostalgia better. Not that Everything Everywhere All at Once was bad in terms of how it did nostalgia, but the fact that you relive this guy's entire relationship, and um, he got clarity throughout it, or it wasn't all bad for him, and there was some really like beautiful moments in it, and like that's kind of what kickstarts him wanting to run away from the mind erasers. But it stuck with me a lot more than Everything Everywhere All at Once is.
It
And
resonated with you.
I liked it. Yeah, no, it's a solid
Yeah.
4.5 for me.
Nice. Awesome. Well, now we would move on to the Q&A period, but our one patron did not get back to me with a question. I got a segment suggestion from our patron, but I did not get a question from our patron. So, do you have a question?
Did you watch the latest trailer? What's the newest David Cronenberg film? What's it called?
Oh, Crimes of the Future.
Did you watch the new trailer for that?
Yeah, the trailer played before The Northman when we watched it.
Holy crap, that's gonna be like an insane body horror movie.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm so stoked for it. I'm here for it.
like I don't think Jesse's gonna want me dragging her along to that.
Well, maybe not. Like it depends on how like she does with body horror. Like because that's all it's gonna be.
But outside of that, like, is there any trailers that have kind of popped up on your radar that you've been excited about?
I am looking forward to. There's two that have kind of caught my attention. Another A24 movie called Men.
Oh,
The trailer
I've seen that.
looked really good.
That's by Alex Garland. He did
Yeah.
Ex Machina, which is just stupidly good.
Yep. So that I am like definitely excited for that. And then another trailer that I saw. Oh, Nope. the theatrical trailer for Nope looks really good.
I'm excited for Nope as a movie, but oh my god, I'm tired of seeing that trailer in front of every single thing I watch.
Yeah, fair enough. That my first time seeing it was before The Northman.
I've honestly probably seen that trailer 20 times, and like it's gonna be a great movie. I'm excited to watch it. I just don't want to see another
way too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? I guess Crimes of the Future, obviously.
No, that and Men. Men kind of keeps slipping off of my radar a little bit. Oh, that and Black Phone. I'm really excited for Black Phone. That's gonna be sick.
I have not heard of that one.
It is a horror movie starring Ethan Hawke, and Ethan Hawke looks fantastic in it. Basically, like he's a child abductor, probably a child serial killer, and he abducts this guy, this like teenage boy. I think he's like 12 or 13 years old, and he puts him in this like soundproof basement, and there's like this mysterious black phone in this isolated room, and it's disconnected, but the boy starts receiving calls from it from all of the serial killer's previous victims, and they're kind of like trying to help him figure out how to escape. It's a weird premise, but it looks really good, and I'm excited to see Ethan Hawke in it. And based on some like pre-screenings, I think it's like it's supposed to be pretty good. Like on IMDb right now, apparently it has a 7.4. So
that's pretty solid.
There's been showings of it.
Interesting. Oh, it's a Blumhouse movie. Okay. The director of Sinister and Doctor Strange. I really liked Sinister.
Sinister's good.
Yeah, Sinister's solid.
Yeah, so I think it's gonna be good. I've heard good things about the movie, so I'm probably gonna like I don't often see horror movies in theaters, but I'll probably go and see this one.
Yeah. Cool. I'm gonna watch the trailer after we're done recording and check it out. The mask looks terrifying.
It's so creepy.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that, but I think it will be interesting. I have like started to watch more horror movies. No thanks to you, obviously. Like you've definitely shown me some really good horror movies in the past year. Actually, most of them have been Korean, and they've been insanely good. Like I really liked I Saw the Devil. Anyways, that's another podcast. But I guess that's kind of my final thoughts on the trailers. Are there any others that you've seen?
No, I'm sure there has. I'm so
Yeah.
forgetful. Like if
Yeah.
anything, I would conclude by just saying go see Everything Everywhere All at Once in theaters because
Mhm.
like it is
Support
important
those
to
movies.
yeah, like talk the talk with your wallet in terms of supporting these kinds of projects. And if you
Mhm.
haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, you can stream it for free on Amazon Prime. It's not that long. It's a good movie. If you haven't seen it, go check it out.
And just to clarify, he is saying Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh, did I say Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, no. You're gonna have to wait a little bit to watch that, and I'm not sure if it'll be on Amazon. That one you have to
Eternal
go see in
Sunshine is
theaters.
on Amazon though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely worth checking out if you want to see a really interesting sci-fi premise that has really interesting repercussions on a relationship that is kind of falling apart, that treats it with a lot of respect and earnestness. I would 100% recommend Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And Everything Everywhere All at Once is just a fun ride. Like, it's so worth your time and your money. And that is it. Next episode, we are going to talk about the Batman and your pick, Ryley, which is Prisoners. I've never seen.
Oh, I forgot about
before.
Prisoners. I forgot I picked that. Yeah, no, look forward to that. Prisoners is a long movie. It's going to be a little bit dreary, but it fits the theme with Batman. And honestly, guys, since you know in advance what we're watching, if you have the opportunity, go watch both
the
movies before. See if you agree.
Yeah. There's the Batman streaming on Crave in Canada, I believe HBO in the States. And yeah, go watch both of them. And then you can tell us all about your thoughts. And then we can maybe talk about your thoughts if you go to patreon.com/BTFpod. You can sign up and you can leave us some comments. You can send us messages. And I will tell you about the 15 patron goal. Once that happens, if we get 15 patrons, we'll open up the Discord for everybody to join. And then it's just going to be a great conversation all the time. And maybe we'll have some secret live commentaries and screenings of movies.
Oh, very fun.
Could be very fun. And with that, after plugging the Patreon, we should thank our one lovely patron, Pixel Witch. Thank you for being the first patron. Everybody, round of applause. Yes, thank you so much, Pixel Witch. You very appreciated. Next time, get the question to me, and we can talk about your question. And for everybody else, episodes are available for patrons on Wednesday and the Wednesday after. It will be available for free on our YouTube channel called Midnight Radio. So keep an eye out for that. And everybody, have a good week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.